Thank you so much for these great people on the screen here. They are supporting our channel to bring you more education like this. If you are interested in joining the crew, come on down. The link is in the description below. Not forgetting my members again. So we have Mason Howell, 17 years old, shoots 18 under for 36 holes at a US Open qualifier. And I believe this is the regionals, which is the one step before. So you know that golf course is in pretty severe conditions. I've only known one person to be able to shoot 18 under for 36 holes, and that is Kim Jong-il. So congratulations for joining Club Kim. You know, shooting 63 in a US Open qualifier, that is really impressive, but doing it back to back with no bogeys, that's just unheard of. Now, he did this at the Piedmont Driving Club in Atlanta, so I didn't know where that was, so I looked up on Google and take a look at this golf course. I mean, to be able to shoot 63 back-to-back in US Open conditions, some of these holes here, they look pretty ridiculous. So I wanted to know what the rating and the slope was, so I looked up their scorecard. Here's the scorecard. Now, we know US Open, it's probably going to be black yardage, blue yardage. I'm not going to play 6,600, so it's that 7,000 yardage, 73.6142. That's basically saying if you're a scratch golfer, you shoot 73 to 74 once every 4 rounds, and 142 is what the average golfer would shoot. Now look at this, 63 back-to-back. Now comparison, we have PGA West Stadium right by my house. The tournament, which they don't even play in the PGA Tour, but the tournament slope rating is 76.1 and 150. Put that in comparison, it's probably the same as the PGA Tour plays PGA West. We're going to take a look at the golf swing right now, look at the cause and effect to see how he's able to do this, and it is a very, very unique swing, very powerful swing, and I just can't wait to see what this guy can do. So let's take a look at his swing right now. First of all, I want to thank Steven for sending me over that video idea of Mason, because this is just a phenomenal swing. When we watch this swing, I see somebody that is very young, obviously, very talented, a lot of hand-eye coordination, great fundamentals in terms of keeping his spine angle throughout the golf swing. We're going to look at his setup and see how that accommodates this. Obviously very limber, has a body type to create all this torque and the motion. This is not a swing that somebody like me needs to try and duplicate, because I will probably end up in that pond floating belly up by trying this. We're going to look at a lot of this whipping action at the top of the swing, which, you know, it's really hard to time, and that just shows you how much hand-eye coordination this gentleman does have. And we're going to look at this swing from face on down the line. I'm going to try and find a video where it's not going to be zooming around, but we might be a little bit troubled with this footage, but we'll make do with what we can. So let's break down the swing right now. Okay, out of all of these, down the line, this is probably the best one that we could find. However, a lot of these start midway backswing, and I know it's for editing to make it run quicker, but we're going to make do with this because this is a good solid position. The camera doesn't move much, but let's just go straight to the top of the swing. So we can see hands are very, very high, and we see, watch the hips. As the hands get higher, watch the hips are already turning as he's still setting his club at the top. So we're starting to see this torque unwind. There's a lot of rotational sequencing going on from the ground up, and this is going to be a huge X factor number. Let's back it up and see if we can see. We have a great whole upper body facing us, and the hips are barely moving in terms of the rotation, and we pair that up with, man, they're still turning as the upper body's hanging back. So you talk about that X factor stretch. So if you don't know what that really means, if you take a look at a slinky, if I hold the bottom of the slinky and twist the top, you can see that there's going to be some torque involved. Now, when you release it, I did a video a while ago that when you release a slinky, it doesn't unwind from the bottom up. It unwinds where the torque is stored, just because you're able to torque your body. Where it uncoils is very important, because if you have a lot of torque up in this area, the upper body, where do you think is going to unwind first? It's not going to be the lower body. The upper body is going to move first to get rid of that torque. So you got to be very careful when you're talking about rotation. But we can see a really good position here. Hands are very high. Now, why are the hands high? We see a lot of good ball strikers with hands that are high. Now, in order to get those hands high to work, we're going to look at that triangle. And the hands would have to drop down to reconnect. And we know to shoot 63, there's probably going to be some reconnection early. And we're also going to look at the spine angle. We're going to do this in Barney Purple. Spine angle right through the body, and a little back brace line to see how much he's able to hold onto this spine angle, which is very important. The goal for him is to create the room for him to get his arms to slot down and turn around. Some good players can still get from the top position that do arrive a little steeper, but we know that this is probably not the case for Mason. And look at that, hands, what do? They go straight down on the left side of that triangle. Now, we've seen people Now, specifically people like me that have some limitation issues, we don't have the ability to drop it down and turn. We basically just turn from the top. And when we turn from the top, our hands will veer off this way. And that is, you know who's coming to dinner, or having cans pools on the left side. Jabroni's Bridge Club is going to be interrupted again, and I know they ordered a couple of cop lookalikes to, throw the party, if you know what I mean. And we don't want to interrupt that. So we're going to see the difference here. Arms are dropped straight down the left side, our view, and now it's going to reconnect. So boom, look at this. Now, here's a cool thing. Let's delete that triangle check and look at what just happened here. Perpendicular to his spine. This is probably about as close to 90 degrees as you can. Now, you can really only do this if you're standing further back and you increase your spine bend. Plenty of times when we want to enact turn, we try to stand taller, because to stand taller, it's a lot easier to turn. But if you take a look at his top position here, we see that he is still in a spine angle, but look at the shoulders. The shoulders are tilting perpendicular. So this is somebody that has a great ability to turn and tilt correctly, which means he definitely wins the Gumby Award for 2025. Congratulations on that. So you join Club Kim and you get the Gumby Award all in one video. Pretty hard to do, but that is key because it's just matching his tilting. There's no spine loss. Things can work around. Now remember, when they work around, what happens to your club head speed? It's like the moon. You just catapult and you can go to Mars if you want to. And let's keep clicking through. It is still parallel to where he slotted it. So usually what I have seen when people try to manipulate their hands down, their club head will start to fall below that plane. So their club head is veering off into this territory. That is where you get a little bit of an issue in that short little time frame. But take a look at the next frame. Bam, he's still online. So everything is still connected to that lower plane line. And I would imagine if we did find a setup video of him where it started from setup, that's where his lower plane line would have been. So he's able to rotate around. Look at the lower body. The lower body is firing wide open. Upper body is square to his target at this point. So he's probably got one more frame before he strikes it. So this is still carrying over that X Factor stretch. We've stretched and we're carrying it over as much as we can. Now the hands and arms do play a little bit of release game, and this is where the timing will come in, because if you have so much rotation, the hands are going to be stuck a little bit behind you and they have to catch up at some point. So this does take quite a bit of talent to pull off and the right body style, but rare is impact right there. There's that one frame. Let's take a look now. Look at the lower body. That is LPGA lower body, definitely facing the target. Look at the upper body. The upper body is square, maybe even slightly close to his target. He is in the spine angle. Look at the back brace line. So this is a very, very, very strong swing. We see the footwork is pushing up into that lead hip. We see the left foot staying down. It's not jumping up at the ball. So not only do you have to be strong, not only do you have to be young, flexible, but also be able to be coordinated to pull this off. So please don't try this if you are above the age of 35, because you'll probably be needing some state health care, and we all know how that goes. And we take a look at the next frame over. Look at the amount of tilting with the shoulder. So we'll do a tilt check in a little bit, but we're going to take a look at how long he stays in that posture. So boom, still in that posture. Look at where the club exits. The club doesn't exit in a wild position. The club exits pretty close to all his lines, so he's very stable. So stability with all his rotation and the tilting requires hands that can match up everything. So it's a game of matchups. Your hands are always trying to search for the matchup, and if your matchup is consistent with the body, the hands will develop a more consistent matchup, which is why you're able to shoot 63 2 days in a row at 17 years old at a US Open qualifying condition golf course, which is, I've shot 63. I think I had to quit after like 13, but hey, we have that in common. And as we come on through, he's still in his posture. Still in his posture. Still in his posture. Still in his posture. So even on his way through, let's clear up all these lines. He is still in his posture, and the ball is probably 180 yards down the fairway right now. But let's do a quick little tilt check to see how much tilting is needed for this golf swing. So we're going to go one frame after impact. Let's go right there. That is just a really big amount of tilt. So we're going to see there is the tilt right there. 67, not quite as much as we saw the other day. I think the other day was 77, but let's take a look at the top of the swing. Let's find it right there. We're going to try our best to check out that tilt. So we have 31 degrees. So we're up to 36 degrees of tilting. Typically, you're looking at 20 to 25 degrees, so we can see because we're standing further away, we need to enact more tilting to stay level to our spine. Now, when you stay level to your spine, and plus you have all this rotation, you have to keep increasing your spine tilt to get your hand path to exit correctly. So this is a very functional swing. Now, will it survive? That's a great question. He looks like a tall, young, lanky guy, but once he adds 20 to 30 years on this, it might slow down a little bit, but I think this swing will survive at least a couple of decades. Okay, here is a swing that we caught from face on. Now, again, it doesn't start quite at setup because I know we're editing this for some views, but we're going to take a look as best as we can to see some shoulder tilting, and we see that shoulder tilting perpendicular to that. We can see it's ahead of the golf ball slightly, which is good. So we know at least we're promoting some sort of upward mobility. Now we know the tilt is going to increase quite a bit, but this setup is really good. We look how wide the stance is. So typically I look at stances from inside of the heels and we see they're about shoulder width, but let's take a look at the lower body action and the upper body. Look at this guy in the back. This guy in the back's game, man, this guy, he's about to shoot 63 times 2. I wish I could be that guy. And I want you to see how wide this arc is. So right here, look at how straight both arms are. Now this again creates a lot of width, but in order to do this, you have to be fairly Gumby-like. So you can't do this unless you tilt. So you notice, look at that left shoulder. See how the left shoulder went down? And remember, that's to maintain that shoulder tilt and turn relationship based on his forward bend at the beginning. So he does it really well. So if you can keep that tilt relationship, you will end up with a wider arc by default. As we come onto the top, this is where you or I would stop. We go back a little further and we see the arms now just starting that whipping action already. So the lower body's gonna go. We see the lower body driving and the upper body's gonna drop that club. Remember, we're dropping from that downward view. We saw the drop. Now the drop is going to fall into the slot. Let's take a look at how he drives everything towards the target. So we probably won't see the hips sliding back because of that great setup that he established with very little forward press, I would imagine. And as we see the hips, there goes the hips. So the hips are turning right away. We see the knee is beating the race, which is what he wants because we need rotation with the lower body. But look at the upper body. The upper body is still, let's put this now in mellow yellow. We still have a tilting that is working down, but watch this next couple frames. 1, 2, look at that tilt. It immediately picks up. And when that tilt immediately picks up, what does that do? That pushes the hands more out in front. We see that we're not quite able to keep up with that centerness of tilt, but that's because we have so much more tilt than usual. So our hands are slightly behind where they need to be, but he's still establishing a forward press with an upward strike because from here, the hand path, let's draw the hand path, which is going to be in relation to that tilt. It's going to be up to here. So look at the hand path. It's severely up with a forward press. So look at that. They've caught up to each other one frame after impact. We clear up all the lines. We can see that things are looking pretty good. Now this is more of a finish of the LPGA players where that club shaft is straight to the right arm. And they do that because of the rotation. So a lot of rotation with the lower body, upper body stays fairly neutral. You connect the arm to the right side. For us mere mortals that cannot turn and tilt like this gentleman, we have to rotate more together. And then at impact, you'll see your hands more in line with the center of your chest. So us mere mortals would look more like this if you can't pull it off. So you would look more like this if you had some more tilt. But this is just a phenomenal golf swing. I really can't wait to see what this gentleman will do. My hat's off to him for having such an accomplishment. It is really probably once in a lifetime thing that we have just heard of. I think it's almost an impossible feat that he just did 63 back-to-back US Open qualifying conditions with no bogeys at 17 years old. So I hope this doesn't ruin people's expectations of him. You know, we just got to expect that he's a great player. Don't expect him to go out there and shoot 63 4 days in a row and win the tournament, but it'd be great to see him at least make the cut or get close to making the cut, maybe win low-am. That would be awesome. So hats off to him. Hope that helps you. Hit that like, share, subscribe to this if you enjoy this type of stuff. Other than that, I'll see you tomorrow. Forever the greens.